I'm pleased to welcome our state president, Anthony Naccarato, who likes to be called Tony, so I have to call him Tony. Tony, I know that you are very proud of your heritage. Talk about that a little.
Well, I am very proud of my heritage. As an Italian immigrant, I came to America when I was 9 years old, back in 1955. And I realized what was left behind and the price that my parents paid for me to have the success that I've had in America.
Excuse me, what part of Italy were they from?
We came from Calabria, the southern part of Italy. On a clear day, you could see Stromboli from my hometown. My hometown is 700 feet high, and Stromboli is high, so you could see Stromboli. But you know, there's something, Luisa, that occurred to me about 5 or 6 years ago. The price that my family paid to be in America, and that's the reason why I'm so happy to be part of Sons and Daughters of Italy in America. And on September 22nd, 1955, my grandmother woke up with a son, a daughter-in-law, and and 6 grandchildren. That night she went to bed alone. And we all left for America. She was left behind. So imagine having 6 grandchildren and a son and a daughter-in-law.
Saying goodbye.
Saying goodbye. And she never saw half the grandchildren ever again. And I only saw her a total of 4 days for the rest of her life. I saw her 2 days after I came out of the Army, and 2 days about 10 years later. So that's the price that was paid by my family for me and my siblings to be in America.
A heavy price indeed.
It is a very
Yes,
heavy price. And most of the people in the audience, Sons and Daughters of Italy in America, in one way or another paid the same price.
Oh yes, and within my own family as well, yes. Tony, I wanted to ask you, as state president, what are some of the challenges you have been faced with?
Well, the most important part of the challenge is really like any other organization, is membership. I think that most Italian Americans have achieved a great success in America. And because of that success, they don't realize that there's still a great need for us to stay together the way Dr. Vincent Solero expected us to.
Right.
And we still face discrimination. It is not as blatant as it was, but we see it in days like the Christopher Columbus Day. They're trying to remove it. You see it when it comes to something like Mother Cabrini. You see it in the movies. And the Italian Americans, even my own son, he's a successful businessman, so he doesn't feel that great need. But unfortunately, he's wrong. There's still a great need, and that's why I'm willing, and not just myself, every member of the order throughout the United States feels the need to protect our heritage and culture.
Indeed. I know you're a very active state president. There's no question about that. Let's allude to some of your accomplishments. Tell us about that. There have been many, we know that.
Well, I'm a great believer that if you're going to do the job, that you should try to do the best job that you can. And as I moved through the chairs, I tried to do that. And I try to do that as the orator. I try to do that as second vice president, and that was in fundraising. And I believe that I was successful in fundraising. In membership, I came up with a flyer that has been used quite a bit throughout the state, and it's got an application in the back, and I think that's helped a lot. And as state president right now, the challenge is to try to help the lodges that are having some issues, and I make it a point of going there personally, and sitting down with the members. If the members trust you, the members will follow you. If they don't trust you, and if they believe that you're just there for the show, they won't follow you. You have to be sincere. And also, I'm very heavy into, even a person my age, I'm very heavy into social media. You and I have been talking about putting together a podcast.
Right.
I got the executive board to approve it. We're going to get started. As a matter of fact, later on we'll talk about it.
Right.
And also, I just started a YouTube channel, and it's starting off very slowly. I only have 63 subscribers, but I'm hoping to get 500 and 600 to 1,000, and I'm pushing it very, very heavy. I'm on Instagram. I started an Instagram channel also. Facebook, I post very positive issues every Saturday morning, and I get very good response. There was the issue with the New York Times and the terrible editorial that they put in their newspaper the day after the lynching in New Orleans. When I posted that, it was shared 97 times. For someone that's unknown like myself, 97 times is a lot of people saw that.
Right.
So I'm putting a lot of time and effort into that.
Well, you're obviously a visionary. So what are some of the visions you have for the future?
I think the future is the social media. I think we have to, I ran into a person about 10 years ago that belonged to another lodge. And I asked him, why didn't you join the Giuseppe Verdi Lodge, which is the lodge that we belong to, and I belong to, my wife and I, in Syosset. And he said, well, I didn't know that there was a Sons of Italy chapter in Syosset. And that's the challenge, and that's the challenge I want to meet. I want to be able to get out there that we're here, and then such in Basilone is here, and the 61 other lodges that throughout New York State and throughout the country.
I'm sorry, how many lodges are there in the United States?
I believe there's 17. I think that Nancy DeFiore Quinn, our national president, would be more qualified to answer that, but I believe there might be 17, and she'll correct that if it's wrong. But we have 61 lodges in New York State, from Geneva to the Hamptons.
Would you say that, have there been obstacles that have been thrown in your way?
The obstacle is like any other organization. It's hard to get new members, and once you get new members, it's hard to get people to step up and be willing to do the work that's necessary. Every lodge is like a small business. The larger the lodge, the larger the business. And you need people, like you just introduced your board, you need people to step up and say, I'll do it. And as the initiation says, that we would like you to step up and say, I'll do it.
What other advice would you give the lodge? Since we have a problem retaining members.
The biggest advice I give a lodge when I go there and I speak is, it's important that you avoid strife in the lodge. There has to be a unison. Any lodge where there's arguments and strife and upsetment is going in the wrong direction.
Right.
And I've seen it happen, and it is not conducive to a successful lodge. A successful lodge takes care of its problems in the officers' meeting and does not go to a general meeting and have disputes.
Right.
You also have to make the meetings interesting. You can't have, you just can't go to the meeting, stretch it out, and have it, an hour and a half of nothing. You have to make it interesting. Even if you have to go through the ritual of the order. Obviously, the order has a ritual to follow. But
we have business to
conduct.
But over and above that,
you have to have fun. The lodges that are successful are lodges that have something that afterwards. I recently went to the Percent Ladies Lodge, and they had an event, and they must have had 80, 90 people there. And it was for Alzheimer's. And that night, within their own lodge, without the really outside lodges, they managed to raise $2,800 for the Alzheimer's Foundation, which is a great. I think it's a great amount of money for a small lodge to do something like that.
I think we really have to impress fraternity within the lodges, and that's a key thing. I think fraternity is where it's at.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that I believe, as state president of New York State, that I accept the premise that each lodge has its own personality. Giuseppe Verdi has its own personality. Basilone has its own personality. And that's okay. As long as you do the business of the order, it's perfectly okay. If you have a little bit of fun during the meeting, that's fine. If you're president of the organization or the president of the lodge, you don't have to take yourself too seriously. You know,
Okay.
you can have a little bit of fun. You can take other people's opinion. If somebody happens to make a joke, that's fine. You know,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, we're brothers and sisters. You know, we're not strangers. Which leads me to another thing. I recommended, and I saw it the other day at the Vigiano Brothers, name tags. You know, if you have a lodge of 80, 190 people, if you put name tags on, because there's people that belong to the lodge that don't know each other. So if
That's
you put
very
name
true.
tags, that helps. And I saw that. I've been recommended, and I was very gratified that they do that.
And when you attain a new member, I think it's very important, don't you agree, that you have them get up and talk about themselves and their families.
Absolutely. If you get a new member, my recommendation to any lodge is you have to give them a mentor. You have to assign a mentor to that lodge. So when that person walks through that door, that mentor will go right over to them and say, "Hello, Joe. Hello, Jane. How you doing? Come and sit with me." There's nothing worse than to have come into a room of strangers and you don't know where to go and sit. I know it happened because it happened to me. I've been a member for 42 years. And I came in and everybody was in a clique. They were sitting in various areas.
Yeah, it's called alone in a crowd.
Alone in a crowd. So if you get a person that person is the mentor to one person. So if you get 5 or 6 new people, you certainly can do that. And that person makes sure that that person is there. If that person doesn't come to a meeting, you call them up and you say, how are you doing? Is there something wrong? Did we do anything? Okay, is there anything I can do? Do you need a ride? Maybe you can't drive. A lot of people will tell me, I'd like to make a meeting, but I can't drive anymore. I don't drive at night. Well, that can be resolved. All you have to do is ask, and you'd be surprised that if somebody could pick them up, you'll get another extra 5 or 6 people at the meeting.
The personal touch.
Personal touch.
All right. Well, Tony, this has been very enlightening. We're so happy to have you here today, and all the best today and always.
Thank you very much, Luisa. My pleasure. Thank you.